Who cares, brother? Who cares? Today, smash.
You know, for a fighter like Khabib, where one of his biggest accomplishments in the octagon is that he barely got hit. He was barely hit. No one ever was able to hit Khabib. He left his fights with no cuts on his face. He sure as hell acts like a fighter who was hit 1,000 times because recently, and I'm going to give you a few examples in this video, Khabib is just the most delusional guy in the sport right now. So, of course, we're going to start with this take from Khabib that, Ilia Topuria doesn't have a chance against Arman Tsarukyan, and he's basically giving his prediction for this fight. So we'll start with this. Of course, the translation is here at the bottom because I don't speak Russian, but yeah.
Давай предположим, что все случилось, Царукян с Топурией дерутся. Ты кого видишь фаворитом в этом бою?
Я не вижу шанса у Топури.
He says, I don't see Topuria having a chance. I favor Arman Tsarukyan is basically what he's saying. Just saying that off the bat, you don't think Ilia Topuria has a chance of beating Arman Tsarukyan? Why? And I know why. I actually do know why. But we can get to that in a little bit. But he has no chance of beating Arman Tsarukyan. I get he's another wrestler just like you. I get it. You have to glaze other wrestlers. That's why DC always glazes these fucking wrestlers, and Usman and Cejudo, they glaze. I get it. But Topuria has zero chance? Really? When Topuria... Let's keep reacting.
Ты считаешь, что Арман нападает, да?
Арман слишком...
Arman Tsarukyan's been rocked by Joaquim Silva, but Arman fights too at range against strikers. Now, don't get me wrong. Arman Tsarukyan has pretty good striking. I'd say good striking. Not pretty good, but good. And he's beaten one great striker, that being Charles Oliveira, probably. Maybe Joel Alvarez are the two names, are the two best strikers on his resume. Because then you got Gamrot. Islam Makhachev wasn't, when he fought Islam, he wasn't on the level that he is now. Again, Joaquim Silva. Then it's Beneil Dariushi KO'd. Cool. Not super impressive, but cool. Beneil was coming off of that Oliveira KO, but...
Дистанционно дерется. С ударниками. Держит дистанцию хорошо. Ногами.
Keeps his distance well, works better with his kicks.
Лучше работает. И сейчас уже Арман слишком хорошо. У него есть материал, который он может посмотреть и хорошо изучить.
He has footage and something that he can analyze. Footage and tape. So does Ilia. What the fuck? Arman has more fights in the UFC than Ilia, I think. I might be wrong on that. Maybe, actually, because Arman's, they're about the same age, I think. They're the same height, same age. They got too many similarities. No, but, I think... I don't get this. You know what? Maybe Khabib has a point. Because while Arman Tsarukyan, and we're going to get to Arman, while Arman Tsarukyan is off doing grappling matches and jerking off with Nina Drama, Ilia has been fighting. Even though Ilia is inactive too, and I have an issue with that, but Ilia at least has been fighting. So I don't know.
3 боя назад, если он с ним дрался, может, он не так опасался. Но сейчас уже видно то, чего можно опасаться от Топури. Я считаю, что в данный момент лучший боец в легком весе это Топури.
Ты про Царукяна?
Да, я про Царукяна.
I was like, well, he said the best lightweight is... Yeah, even his own fucking stupid brain was like, you think Arman is not... Off of what? Because he uses his kicks well and he's a striker and he gave one of your fighters a tough test before he was even in his prime, when he was a baby, when he was a toddler, basically. Pre-Bubescent Arman Tsarukyan gave Islam Makhachev a tough test on his debut on short notice. That's what it is. Because what points to Arman being the best lightweight? He's very good. He could do good against Ilia. But Ilia, to me, is more proven. Let's keep watching, though. It's a 2-minute fucking video.
Выиграет он при этом за счет борьбы, правильно?
За счет ММА стиля.
Но
это не вольная борьба.
Но будет проходить, да?
Арман может повалить, у него хорошие локти в партере. Очень хороший локти. Может бороться, разбаривать, спину забирать.
А вот в эту опасную дистанцию с Топурей просто не зайдет.
Не зайдет, слишком уже есть бои, он уже может посмотреть, изучить.
There's enough footage to study. What the fuck does that mean? As if Arman Sarukian, you could study footage for Arman too. What the hell? Like there's footage of Arman Sarukian as well. There's plenty of footage of Arman Sarukian. And again, we've seen Arman get rocked, get backed up. I've seen Arman Sarukian, like get reversed by guys like Gamrot, almost get subbed by Oliveira. There's a lot of footage of Arman Sarukian in bad spots. He's lost. I mean, he's literally lost. Of course, he only lost to Makhachev and Gamrot, of course, my GOAT. But there's already enough footage to study. It's not like, what do you, like, I don't understand.
Я, например, 80/20.
80-20 in Arman's favor, bro. He's making it seem like Arman is going to destroy Ilia. Why? What is this? And I said this earlier. These guys, when I say these guys, Khabib and his team, for some reason, have a disdain for Ilia. I get it. Ilia talks shit about them. He talks a lot of shit. But it's just like 80-20 Arman Sarukian. Even people who think Arman Sarukian has a good chance of beating Ilia are not saying it's an 80-20 fight. And if you say that, we all have opinions, but some of us have wrong opinions. It's just
победителем Армана. Я считаю, что
his wrestling is his pressure, his physicality, it all matters. So yeah, he has all that, but Ilia doesn't have his elite striking, his great jiu-jitsu. He doesn't have any strength on the ground. What are we doing, bro? His distance management, the way he can cut off the ring, he can cut off his opponents. He's faced guys with longer reach than Arman, who are taller than Arman, who you could maybe argue is as strong as Arman. I guess Oliveira you could argue is as strong as Arman, but Arman's probably a bit stronger, but still. Come on, man.
Его габарит, это тоже надо учитывать. Он выше, но почти на 10 сантиметров, если не ошибаюсь.
He's taller by almost 10 centimeters. Aren't they the same height? Am I tripping? Aren't they both like what, 5'9" or something? 5'10"? Aren't they both the same height?
Борьба, она всегда рулила. Да, особенно когда такие бои бывают. Мы все знаем, какая борьба у Holloway и какая борьба.
What? We all know the level of wrestling that Holloway and Charles Oliveira had. It's practically non-existent. What the fuck, man? Oh my gosh. Dude, we all know Holloway has no wrestling at all. Well, okay, Holloway is not an offensive wrestler, but Holloway is one of the best counter grapplers in the sport. You know how hard it is to take Holloway down? Extremely difficult. And Charles Oliveira has no wrestling. If you want to make that argument, but like you said, Khabib, earlier in this video, it's not just wrestling now, is it? They're not wrestling on a fucking mat. It's MMA. So though maybe Charles Oliveira doesn't have the wrestling of Arman Sarukian, he's got much better jiu-jitsu and grappling, I would argue. Much better. Bit more wiry, a bit more range. He can throw up these different subs. You're going to be in a lot more trouble when you're on the ground with Charles Oliveira, folks. But I don't know. I think this is a bit non-existent wrestling from Charles Oliveira. But it's big. It's grappling. It's not. We're not talking about. I think this is stupid. His argument is that Arman Sarukian has the best wrestling that Ilia has faced, and that would be the truth. But Ilia has faced guys who are a bit more dangerous on the ground. Of course, that being Charles Oliveira.
Последний Чарльз Оливейра. У них его практически нет. Они ударники. Они пошли на рожон.
They are strikers. They went forward and got caught. Yeah, they're strikers. That's why Charles Oliveira tried to take him down instantly, right?
Назови хоть одного, хоть чуть-чуть, даже не 50%, который хоть 20%.
Even if I'm in agreement that, yes, Arman Sarukian would be the best wrestler Ilia has ever fought, I don't think Arman Sarukian is this extraordinary wrestler because, okay, yes, he has good wrestling, but I've seen him out-grappled by Gamrot, who I would argue, by the way, is a better wrestler than Arman Sarukian. I'm not saying he's a better fighter all around. I'm saying he's a better wrestler. Okay, there's a difference. But I would argue Gamrot is better than Arman, right? I would argue that, of course, Islam Makhachev is a better wrestler. But the thing is, it's not just about the pure wrestling. It's not just about, Arman, Ilia's never faced somebody that's going to go for a double leg, folks. All right, but what's Arman going to do when he gets him down? Does he have good elbows? Yes. But he doesn't have the jiu-jitsu or the subs to really make Ilia Topuria worry the way I would say a Charles Oliveira does. But of course, I'm not here to just predict Ilia versus Arman. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to just say how much of a cocksucker Khabib is being right now for wrestling.
Использует борьбу. Ну, интересный бой будет. Я считаю, что, я знаю, что UFC опасаются, не хотят его так быстро убирать.
No, the UFC doesn't want to give Arman Topuria or give Topuria Arman because Arman Tsarukyan, you know what? We'll look at it right now, actually. Arman Tsarukyan is about to compete, let's zoom out here, in another grappling match in 2025. Arman Tsarukyan, instead of fighting, Arman Tsarukyan set for grappling match on September 19th. Instead of fighting in the UFC octagon, he's a UFC contracted fighter. And this guy would rather grapple. This is his, what, third or fourth grappling match this year? I'm not even kidding. Like, this is ridiculous. He's obviously in shape, man. He's obviously ready to fight. And I get lightweight, it's a tricky thing right now. And don't talk about, but Gaethje Ilia is happening. Wow, Ilia doesn't even want to fight. That was debunked already. Gaethje Ilia is not happening. Nor did I think it was. But Arman Tsarukyan, what is he doing? Him, in his own words, said they offered him Gamrot, he turned it down. He was supposed to fight Gamrot in Abu Dhabi, he turned it down. This was his own words. They offered him Justin Gaethje. He said, I'm not in shape, but I could fight him at 190 or like 180. Some shit, like not one. It must have been like 185 or like 170. So he's just walking around eating Dave's hot chicken. He's not even in shape. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of big lightweight fights going on. They said, hey, Arman, could you finally step up and help us for once? Sorry. Well, I could fight Gaethje at like 170. I could fight him at catchweight. Meanwhile, Fiziev, who had nothing coming up, was already in shape. Thank God he was in shape. He saved that fight. He fought Justin Gaethje. He stepped up. And now he's getting rewarded with Charles Oliveira. Now I know he just fought Bahamondes. But they gave him a co-main event in his home fucking country. And now he's about to fight Charles Oliveira in the main event of a fight night in Brazil, one of the biggest fight nights of the year. Sometimes you got to do them a favor, man. I'm not trying to sound like a company shill. And if you try to accuse me of that, you're retarded and you don't know anything about my channel because I'm far from that. I crap on the UFC like every week, bro. But what I don't like is fighters like Arman Tsarukyan, who is, again, set for a grappling match, his third or fourth grappling match this year, but can't show up to fight Gaethje, can't show up to fight Gamrot. Like, what are you doing? And I get it. Maybe Paddy's turning him down. I doubt that because Paddy's not in a position to turn down fights, but maybe he is. Or maybe Gaethje's turning him down. But Gamrot, from what I saw, you turned Gamrot down. And you were not in shape to fight Gaethje at 313, I think the card was. What card was it? UFC 3 something. I think it was the Pereira. It was like 313. You weren't in shape. This is all on Arman. It's like, it does kind of fall on Arman. Oh, but I can make weight. And that's another thing. Dana already exposed that Arman, the reason why he didn't fight Islam Makhachev all the way back in January was because he missed weight, not because of a Nina Drama back injury. So I don't know. I just don't understand. Oh, yeah, but the UFC they're scared to book this fight. How about if Arman actually shows up to the office? But nonetheless, I mean, we could finish whatever Khabib's yap session was. I just think, this idea that, the UFC are scared to make Ilia versus Arman because they know who's the real. Stop that.
Топорию. По-любому, он как медийная личность в данный момент
И поэтому может
больше, чем Арман. Ну, если даже вылезет сейчас Арман, если один бой выиграет, куда его деть?
Да, деваться некуда будет.
Они же не могут.
Oh, if Arman gets a big win. Yeah, maybe if Arman ever fights again, brother. If Arman gets a big win, they can't hide Ilia. Oh, Ilia's got nowhere to run and hide. Brother, he doesn't fight. Arman doesn't fight. How is that on Ilia? Arman doesn't fight. He's not going to get a big win if he never fights again, right? His last fight was UFC 300. Charles Oliveira, a notoriously super I shouldn't say super inactive. A guy who's not the most active fighter, he's a big star, is literally about to have like his 4th fight since UFC 300, I think. He's fought like Topuria. He's fought, of course, he's about to fight Fiziev. He fought Chandler. Where's Arman? Where's Arman? We don't know where this helmet head is at. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but this whole idea of the UFC are scared to make Arman Ilia, and Arman's got an 80% chance of beating Ilia. Off of what, man? Off of what? Honestly, I don't want to discredit Arman's skills, but like, bruh. Off of what? Ilia's way more proven. He's got subs. He's got KOs. He's beaten rangy strikers. He's beaten counter strikers. He's beaten all kinds of different strikers, all kinds of different opponents in 2 different weight classes. Yes, Arman is also very proven, and that's why it would be a good fight. But can I see Arman fight one more time? Can I see Arman Tsarukyan be active? Can I see what shape he's in? Before we start talking in these extremes about, but he's never faced a wrestler like Arman. Sure, cool. And has Arman ever faced a striker like Ilia? Fuck no. He has never faced a striker like Ilia. I love when people do these things where they predict fights and they only give the one half. Yes, Ilia's never faced a grappler like Arman. A wrestler, because he's not even that amazing of a grappler, but he's a good wrestler. A great wrestler. But Arman has never faced a striker like Ilia. So it goes hand in hand. You can't just ignore all of Ilia's strengths just to glaze Arman's strengths. You get my point. So let's move on to Khabib yapping about freaking welterweight, because Khabib breaks down the welterweight division. He's kind of being a bit delusional here. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BXGMMA. But yeah, cheap plug. But he's being a bit delusional, I feel like. I think he's actually kind of overlooking and sort of underestimating a lot of Islam's future opponents. And, you should be a little bit worried. You should be a little bit worried if you are. That was was that a voice crack? I don't even know. Anyways.
Бой Ислам Махачев против Мадалены. От тебя прозвучало о том, что это будет самый тяжелый бой в карьере Ислама. Почему?
Ну, мы не можем сразу все карты раскрывать, потому что наши соперники тоже нас...
Yep, I'm listening. I'm going to report back to JDM after this, kid.
Слушай, скажу так, что я давно слежу за Мадаленой. Он как боец очень интересный. Тогда, конечно, у меня даже в голове не было насчет боя Ислама и Мадалены, но судя по его скиллам, по его технике, по его ударке, судя по тому, как он защищается против борцов, а он дрался с борцами. Рамазан хорошо борется, Гилберт Бронс хорошо борется, Белал Мухаммад хорошо борется. Он дрался с такими ребятами, у кого длинные рычаги, тот же Холланд. То есть он дрался и с борцами.
Okay, some WJDM glaze from Khabib. All right, maybe I'll give Khabib some praise.
И с ударниками, и с физически крепкими ребятами. Он такой, знаешь, проверку прошел, 9-0 UFC чемпион. У него та команда, которая готовила Волконовского на Ислама. Вот это все вместе, если сопоставить, я вижу в нем очень грозного соперника.
Вот теперь скажи, не будем...
Now here's the question. He's going to speak on 170, and again, I think this is a little bit delusional.
Смотреть Мадалену, но если бы не было Мадалены, то как дальше выглядит ситуация в 77? Кто может оказаться напротив Ислама в клетке? И там 2 слова о каждом из них.
Я вижу 77 Шавката как соперника, да, вот вызывающего.
Of course, he's going to glaze the wrestler, the foreigner wrestler Shavkat, who's also a Muslim. I'm just saying, of course, he's going to glaze Shavkat. That's the first name that pops. I get it, Shavkat. Yes, he would be a tough test, but I ain't seen that boy in 2 fucking years, bro.
Уважение, во-первых, и во-вторых, опасение. Шавкат, Белал.
Oh, wait, what? Oh, so they would fight Bilal Muhammad. Oh, what happened to all the Dagestani fucking cocksuckers that were in my comments saying, brother, they would never fight, brother. They brothers. Islam Makhachev would never fight Bilal. And I said, Islam Makhachev would 100% fight Bilal Muhammad because he doesn't love Bilal Muhammad the same way Bilal Muhammad loves him. It's a one-sided fucking love, brother. And I was right. I was right when Islam Makhachev said, Alhamdulillah, I go to become double champion right after Bilal lost his belt. So instead of saying, hey, man, Bilal, you were a great champion, my brother. The first thing he says is, time to become double champ. He doesn't give a fuck about his friend Bilal. And now Khabib said it. Yeah, Bilal would be a great threat for us. He'd be a great opponent. Oh, but I thought Islam would never face Khabib. Or, sorry, never face Bilal. They're all the same to me. I'm kidding. I thought Islam would never face Bilal according to the Dagestani fans. That's what you guys said. But I don't know where you guys are now.
Ян Герри я бы не считал бы таким грозным соперником.
Oh, boy.
Шавкат.
You know Ian Gary's going to do a whole Twitter rant. Listen, Khabib. My name was brought up by Khabib, yeah? No, I think Ian Gary you wouldn't consider a threat. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not an Ian Gary fan at all, but like Ian Gary's a counter striker. Not a counter striker, but he actually does a good job of just like distance, man. I hate that I have to glaze Ian Gary, but he has really good distance management. He does have good counter striking, but he does have an ability to go in the pocket, land his shots, then pull out of the pocket. He's got really good jiu-jitsu that's improving. We don't really know how his offensive wrestling is. I think his jiu-jitsu is really good, but his offensive wrestling is not really a big strength just because I don't think physically he's not like a Shavkat. But then again, Shavkat had some trouble taking him down, so his counter wrestling is very good as well. Again, great distance management. He's a kickboxer. He's dynamic. He seems to have a good chin. Like, why? How would you not see him as a threat? I can't believe I'm glazing him, but you name Shavkat and Bilal as the two names, but then Ian Gary's a non-threat. I wonder what Shavkat and Bilal have in common with Islam Makhachev that you would name those guys. I wonder. It can't be because they're Muslim wrestlers. It can't be, right? But Ian Gary's not a threat.
Кат, Белял, даже еще один был. Ну, Шон Брейди я не вижу.
What? I don't see Sean Brady as stylistically it's too convenient, is what he's saying.
Ислам его стойко перебьет, бороться он, но у Ислама в ноге останется.
Off of like what? Off of what? Khabib just speaks in fucking like hypotheticals all the time. You saw with the fucking Arman thing. If you really don't see Sean Brady as a dangerous opponent, when he's done more to prove that he's dangerous than Shavkat. Shavkat's last win was Ian Gary, which he like just took to. He almost got subbed by Ian Gary. And then before that, it was Jeff Neal, who just got slept in his last fight. And then there's Bilal Muhammad, who just got pieced up by JDM and out grappled by JDM at time. When I say out grappled, I mean like his takedowns got stuffed basically. And JDM was getting up a lot of times when Bilal would get him down. He was getting pieced up badly. Oh, but you see, those guys is more of threats than the guys like Sean Brady and Ian Gary, two guys who have done more work in recent months, have proved that they are threats, have proved that they are dangerous. Sean Brady, in my opinion, when people are saying, oh, Khamzat had such a dominant performance, yes, it was dominant, but the Sean Brady performance against Leon Edwards, that was domination. That was like, holy shit, he's shoving his up Leon's, you know what I mean? That was just pure molestation, bruh. But you watch that performance and you say, nah, but I still think Bilal and Shavkat, two guys who are, one's coming off of a mid-performance that almost took place like 2 years ago at this point, and the other one is coming off of a loss to JDM after like most of his takedowns were stuffed. But those guys are bigger threats to Islam Makhachev than Sean Brady, who's coming off of one of the best performances, in my opinion, the best grappling performance of the year. I know it was Leon Edwards, but I mean, Bilal Muhammad, one of his best wins is also Leon Edwards. So if we're going by Khabib standards here, and then Ian Gary, who just did what he did to Protes, which, yes, I thought it was a bit boring at times, but it was impressive. And he made it competitive with Shavkat and was stuffing some of Shavkat's takedowns. I think this is silly to say they're not dangerous opponents when they're more dangerous than the two names you named.
Ну, не вижу Шон Брейди такого грозного соперника. Ну, он, конечно, крепкий, хороший. Боец.
He probably is going to... Bro, the guy almost weighs 200 pounds on fight night as well. He's probably going to be stronger than Makhachev if they were to ever face. Undoubtedly. He's got great jiu-jitsu. I'm pretty sure he beat Craig Jones in jiu-jitsu, like in a jiu-jitsu match. I'm pretty sure. If not, he made it competitive at the very least. Like, bro, he's probably got the best jiu-jitsu in the fucking sport right now. So to say, but I don't see him being dangerous, but I see Shavkat, the inactive. But it's we know why he's saying those two are bigger threats. We know why.
Не вижу. Шавкат и Беляо.
And then, of course, JDM, who's his next opponent. So, of course, I respected JDM Glaze, and I, W Khabib for that. But, like, come on, man. Shavkat and... just retarded. Sorry, Khabib. Retarded. Finally, let's yap on this fight a little bit. Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira is apparently in the works or rumored or confirmed. I don't know. For UFC 323, this is posted by Full Violence. December 6th, of course, Las Vegas. I love this. I love this fight. I think it's a great fight. I think that this is the logical fight to make next for both guys. I could see this being... I could see Van versus Pantoja being like the co-main event of this same card. And I think Joshua Van actually recently posted like a contract with like sunglasses. Like he just signed the contract for a fight, presumably against the champion. They've already set that fight up, it seems. So I could see this being on the undercard. And the winner of this, in my opinion, no offense to Pantoja, but man, if Joshua Van beats Pantoja, that opens up a lot more. But then again, if Pantoja beats Joshua Van, I don't want to see Pantoja versus Moreno, but that could mean Pantoja Taira. Whoo! The jiu-jitsu exchanges in that fight. Like, I think Taira has a sneakily underrated chance of beating Moreno, but also beating Pantoja, to be honest with you. He might be the guy. The Asian version of Pantoja. But then if Joshua Van maybe beats Pantoja and Moreno beats Taira, we could get a Moreno versus Van fight. Or Taira versus Van. There's a lot of really... Of course, Moreno versus Pantoja just doesn't do a lot for me, but other than that, like, there's other really good possibilities that we could get here. But let's be honest here. We usually don't get the fights we want, so it's going to end up being Moreno, Pantoja, like 4. I love Moreno, by the way. I'm a massive Moreno fan, but... early prediction for this fight, if it's a 3-rounder, I'm going to say... Ooh, I don't even know, I could... You know what? Dare I say I'm a lean towards Taira, but the thing is, man, like, what's Taira's striking looking like? Because, yes, he KO'd or he dropped that guy in his last fight, but, like, this is Moreno. Granite chin, Mexican style, can slip punches well. I don't know. If it turns into a bit of a scrap, Moreno's winning that. But if Taira uses his grappling and wrestling, which you know he's going to, could he out-grapple Moreno? I think that's a possibility for sure. So I might lean towards Taira, I think. I don't know. I'm trying to even take my bias out of it because I am a Moreno fan. I'm going to lean towards Taira, I think. But overall, that's all I got for you guys today. Khabib, this guy's a little bit delusional. He's very delusional, in fact. Look, him saying that he thinks Arman beats Ilia... It's not that he thinks Arman is beating Ilia that's the problem. It's just like the factors that he tries to bring in, the things that he's ignoring about Ilia's game. Just there's certain things, and a lot of people do this, and I'm sure I've even done this, where you try to break down or predict a fight, and you big up one guy's strengths while you basically just ignored the other guy's strengths, and it's kind of annoying. So I wanted to point out the fucking retardation, and also Khabib talking about like who's a threat and who isn't at 170. I thought that was even worse. Him saying Sean Brady and Ian Gary aren't threats or non-threat. Those guys are more threats than Bilal and fucking who's the other? Oh yeah, Shavkat. Like I forgot. Like that's how little I am even thinking about Shavkat within the... He didn't even mention Kamaru Usman either. But Bilal Muhammad... Then don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Bilal and Shavkat wouldn't be threats. I'm just saying to say those guys are such big threats and Ian Gary and Sean Brady are non-threats is just retarded. So that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts, comment, share, peace, and like and sub, and peace. And I already said peace, so goodbye. Khabib, look what you've done. You've made me retarded just like you. Peace. Peace. There you go. Peace.